Okay, folks, the usual disclaimer. I'm just making this video for myself as a reminder for later, but I'm going to put it on YouTube public, so just in case somebody else finds it useful. What I'm going to show here is something to do with Octane renderer, specifically animation, motion blur, and very specifically when you're animating your mesh rather than your object. So let's just start by animating the object. Let's put a keyframe here. And then let's jump to frame 10. Put a keyframe over here. Let's make it 15 frames long. Let's put it in the middle. Okay, if we render this, let's just turn the quality down low so it will render quick. If I render this, no motion blur. Fine. Because we didn't turn motion blur on in the Octane renderer settings. Let's turn it on. Let's turn it up to something a little bit extreme so we can see it very well. Render again, F12. Again, nothing. The reason being, on the sphere, we have to go to its object properties, scroll down, find motion blur, turn that on. Okay, now if I render, at last we see our motion blur happening. Okay. But now, sometimes I like to actually animate the mesh because there are some cool things that you can do which you can't do when you're animating the object. So let's just clear all these keyframes. Let's go back to the beginning, move them over here, and let's hop into edit mode, pressing tab, press N, and let's find our animal tab here, drop it down. Okay, we have to make sure everything is selected. Press here, and let's put in a keyframe. Okay, now we're going to jump over here to, just make it a little bit bigger, jump over here to frame 10. Now we're going to move this bad boy over here. And let's put in another keyframe. Okay, and if we press play, nothing happens because we have to exit edit mode to see anything happening. Okay, jump back to the middle and press F12. No motion blur. That's annoying. Okay, the reason is on our animated object, the sphere, back again in motion blur here, we have to turn on deformation. Okay. Now if I press F12, it's working. So we've got motion blur on our animated mesh, which, by the way, as far as I know, doesn't work in cycles. So this is one reason why I'm actually using Octane, just apart from the fact that it's an amazing renderer. This doesn't work. You can't get motion blur when you're animating your mesh using cycles. Eevee you can, I think, but the motion blur is a bit weird or not as nice. And, you know, Eevee is Eevee. Okay. So, well, we think we're all done, but we're actually not all done because there's yet another problem. Let's just, for the moment, turn off motion blur. If I do render now, our ball is in the middle because we're here in the middle of animation. So if I move it over here and render, the ball is over here. So you'd think we're now good to go to render out a sequence of frames, because now I'm just pressing F12, rendering one frame at a time, but now I want to render out all the 15 frames. So I do Control F12, and look what happens. Over here, we can see that our ball is moving across the screen. But in our rendered output, the ball is not going anywhere. It's staying in the same place, which is kind of shitty. So basically, you're rendering out 15 of exactly the same frames. That's no good. Let's exit that. Render. To fix that, we have to go back to our sphere, to our object properties, and then you need to find this tab here. I just closed it. Octane settings. And on the object type, set it to reshapeable. Okay. Now, if I render, you see that our ball is doing what it's supposed to do. It's moving across the screen. So that's pretty much it. Last and not least, let's just turn back on motion blur. This is the final output, and Control F12 to render out all 15 frames. Yeah, so that's now an edited mesh with motion blur and animation. And that's just what I wanted to show you or me. Okay, hope somebody finds this helpful. And yeah, take it easy. Bye.